Not one, not two, but 3 first-round picks. That is what a blockbuster mock draft has the Broncos giving up to move up in the draft this year. We're going to break down that blockbuster draft, and we have so much going on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Happy to welcome you in with rolling with Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis, Henry Chisholm. You here behind the camera. You got the fat head, too, you here. You ever going to wear that?
There's pictures of me very excited.
And yours truly, Zac Stevens. We got a jam-packed show where we're going to talk about this blockbuster trade that PFF has. We're going to talk about our guy Field Yates predicting. We finally know the quarterback that he has the Broncos draft, and we're going to break that down. Talk about J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Penix, where those guys fit in. Could the Broncos draft one of those guys? Which one would be the best? And then we're also debuting our top 5 quarterbacks for the Broncos moving forward. An action-packed show. How you fellas doing?
Feeling good. It's Thursday.
Week's
baby. Almost over.
Yeah.
Not a bad ending to the week.
So I was like driving in here and Todd was pulling out because the parking lot was full. And it reminded me of yesterday when I was like going through the parking lot and Todd was kind of like coming out. And he must have just waved me through or something, but I couldn't tell because of your tinted windows. It doesn't work. Like you can't be giving like hand signals and stuff when like you can't see inside the car.
I guess I like it like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Were you flipping him off or what was going on?
No. Not that day.
Okay.
Not that day. It is true though. A lot of times when I see Todd, I'm like, I have no idea if he's in there, so I wave because I have no idea if you're in there or not. Like you just sit in the parking
pull
lot
out and wave at like his parked car.
And, you know, worst case, I'm just waving with no one looking, and that's fine. But I don't want you to think that I'm mad at you.
That actually happened to me one time too. The only reason I knew it was Todd because he went like this and the Super Bowl 50 ring was on and it flashed through the tape. I was like, I know no other person in this company has one of those, and I know that for a fact.
Damn, that is baller. Speaking of baller, according to PFF, they think that the Broncos think Drake Maye is a baller. Did you guys see this massive blockbuster trade?
Yep.
It is wild. So PFF thinks the Broncos will trade up so high in the draft that they've got to give away pretty much all of their draft picks. But they don't make it all the way to number 1. They make it to number 2,
which is crazy,
to draft Drake Maye. And they give up number 12 this year, first-round pick. They give up their first-round pick next year. They give up their second-round pick next year. And then they give up their first-round pick the year after. So they're giving up 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick to get the second quarterback in the draft.
I mean,
somebody was saying that he's a generational talent. Drake Maye is. And I said he better be because we won't have another first-round pick for the rest of the generation.
Exactly. I mean, so it's basically the same as the Trey Lance trade. So that was the one where the 49ers moved up from 12 to 3 to pick Trey Lance. Broncos go 12 to 2 here. So that was 3 firsts and a third. This is 3 firsts and a second, but you're also going from 12 to 2 instead of 12 to 3. So it kind of lines up.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't do it. That just seems like that's if you're gonna give all that up for Caleb Williams, absolutely. Like sign me up. I'm to the point, and I think I'm gonna stay here because I know I didn't think this before, but I'm to the point where like you're kind of playing with house money in my mind for the next like 5 years or so, just because of how miserable. Maybe this is the Chiefs Super Bowl hangover still getting to me, but that's kind of where I'm at. Where if you want to go crazy and just like try to do something huge, fine. But Drake Maye just isn't huge enough for me. I couldn't find a way around it.
Doesn't have enough. Doesn't have enough dirt for you.
Couldn't find a way around saying that one.
Instead, you just open the door for us to just bludgeon you with different words.
Yeah. Luckily, you'll do something here soon, I'm sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. And wait, was Trey Lance the third quarterback taken in that draft? He would have been because
Must
it
have been,
was Zach Wilson at 2 and Trevor Lawrence at 1. So yeah, so the Broncos do give up a little extra. Think about this too, Todd. You mentioned how the Broncos wouldn't have a first-round pick for another generation if they did this move. The Broncos would have if they made this move, they would have 1 first-round pick from 2022 to 2026, and it would be him. It would be Drake Maye. That would be the only first-round pick that they would have in a 6-year stretch. You would go from Pat Surtain being the first-round pick to the next first-round pick outside of this one being in 2027. Pat Surtain would be like midway through the second contract at that point by then. That is wild.
It's just not a smart business move. I think you're putting all your eggs in one basket. It may be a very nice basket, but you have to have a lot more eggs to, really play the game of football with.
Nobody wants to eat one egg.
Yeah, even if
Doesn't
Drake
matter how good the egg is.
I want to eat no
Drake Maye
eggs.
is phenomenal. Like, he's not a superhero. He's not, you know what I'm saying? You're not trading it for Superman. Like, he can run and catch and block and, like, I just don't think it's worth it.
He's no Juwan Jennings,
No.
where he's throwing touchdown passes, catching touchdown passes. Yeah, and he would have to be.
Yeah.
For this trade to even be remotely close to working for the Broncos, he would have to be a superhero. He would have to be generational.
Yep.
It would have to be like maybe close to Patrick Mahomes. And there's been one Patrick Mahomes in this generation. There's great quarterbacks out there. There's Lamar Jacksons, there's Josh Allen's, there's Joe Burrow's. But in terms of this generation, there's only one of them.
Yep.
And you're taking the second guy in this draft class. So this draft class would tell you he's not even generational. He's number 2. Now, if anyone could be close to Patrick Mahomes, everyone says it's Caleb Williams. So maybe that guy truly is generational. But you're getting the second best guy, and you're giving up everything to get him. Like, if he's great, this team is 10 wins for the next couple of years. But, like, you're so depleted around you. You're not getting better next year. You don't have a first or a second round pick next year.
Yep.
You're not getting better the year after that. You don't have a first round pick next year, and you're still going to be in this cap hell for the next 2 years. So you're not spending big in free agency either. So, I mean, this guy has to be better than great in order for this trade to be worth it in the next couple of years. Maybe if you want to look long term, and that's what you're doing here, going and getting a rookie quarterback, then yeah, if he's great, maybe it is worth it in 10 years. And you look back 10 years and you say, man, we did need that 2025, 2026 first round pick when it is like 2034. But what if he's a bust? Now, the 0.1% chance that you're the San Francisco 40, no, scratch that. You're not the San Francisco 49ers. They're the only team in the NFL that could do that Lance trade and give up exactly what the Broncos would be giving up in this and have Trey Lance bust and still be fine. If that was any other team, the 49ers would be screwed right now. But the 49ers, credit to them, they built a roster, 7 All-Pros, and they are so lucky that they found that Brock Purdy.
Yep.
If the Broncos were in this situation, they would be hosed.
For sure. And I feel like if you look at the statistics, he's more likely to bust than boom. And if you look at the draft where Trey Lance was, I think there was one player that was generational that's had a solid career.
Exactly. He hasn't even been great.
And then 2 busts right after. I just think the odds are not in our favor, even going and making that move to just being able to get a generational talent.
So let's look at that draft. 5 quarterbacks taken. Trevor Lawrence, who, how would you categorize him right now?
He's solid.
He's fine. Yeah.
Solid? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say good. Really good. Maybe not great right now. Zach Wilson, how is he?
Not
Bust.
good.
Bust.
I went
yes.
through last night.
Absolutely a bust.
Just out of curiosity. He's thrown 992 passes in the NFL. I was like, well, Josh Allen was terrible to start his career. Like, what was he through 992 passes? It's like 87 pass rating versus Zach Wilson 77.
77.
I'm like,
That
Josh
is
Allen had kind of
brutal.
started to turn it on by then, but yeah, there's
And Josh also did it with his legs. Like, he was scoring touchdowns even when he wasn't good. So, yeah, total bust.
Fumbling a lot more, too, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
What about Trey Lance?
I mean, bust.
Massive,
he hasn't really had a chance, but, like, bust.
Yeah, the fact that he hasn't had a chance being the 3rd overall pick. Todd, you know better than anyone.
Chance after chance.
Especially at the quarterback. So, massive bust. The 4th quarterback taken in that draft, you know who it was? Justin Fields. How would you categorize him?
He hasn't hit his stride yet. I'll say that.
Yeah. He's a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
He's a top 32 quarterback.
Yeah, so I'd say
he's not somebody you want.
Well, the Broncos might want him.
I mean, if you have the 32nd best quarterback, you want him. But I mean, he's not very good.
Yeah,
he's not good.
I would say okay. And then the 5th quarterback taken in the 1st round of that draft, Mac Jones.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, are you comfortable saying Trevor Lawrence hit?
I mean,
he isn't what you hoped he'd be.
Yes, I guess you could say he's a starting quarterback, and he's pretty good.
Yep.
The team was probably going to make the playoffs if he was healthy this year. But they were talking about like he's like Patrick Mahomes, not Patrick Mahomes, but just like the best thing.
Andrew Luck.
Yeah,
they were talking Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck.
Yeah,
he was in that conversation. John Elway,
100%. He was absolutely in that conversation, the generational conversation. Yeah. So he has not hit that. That's not for sure. I would say, just in the broad sense of hitting, he's hit, but he hasn't been a wild success. You can't look at any of those other guys and say they've hit. The one that you might make an argument for, Justin Fields, their team's likely moving on from. Now, they're in a very unique situation with trading for that number 1 overall pick and having it right now. But still, if you're looking to move on from a quarterback 4 years in, they haven't hit. So 1 of 5. Yep. And what was supposed to be a great draft, and the draft board fell as if it was a great draft because 3 went in the first 3 picks of the draft.
Yep.
And if the Broncos make this trade and it turns out to be Zach Wilson, that's what Drake Maye is, oh my goodness. They are in a world of hurt. So there's so much risk here. And that's why
very risky.
I say no deal.
Yep.
I say no deal to this because you have to hit on him if you're going to make this big of a trade. And Henry, I think I'm exactly where you are. I'm doing this trade. If this exact trade, I can get up to number 1 to get Caleb Williams, I'm doing it. Because he's not a guarantee to be Patrick Mahomes. He's the best chance you have to getting as close to Patrick Mahomes as you can. And to be able to keep Pat Surtain and give up 3 first-round picks is a ton, and a second-round pick, that is a ton. And you're risking a ton because you would only have 1 first-round pick in 6 years. I would do it for Caleb Williams. But I think there's a big drop from Caleb Williams to Drake Maye, so I wouldn't do it for Drake. Todd?
I'm not doing it for anybody.
That's fair.
I'm not doing it. Maybe I would do it for Patrick Mahomes right now. I just think there's too much risk involved. And I think I don't know. Every time I feel like they compare somebody to somebody, it's rare that it just shakes up that they're that great. But, you never know. Maybe he's the last hope. Maybe he's Neo coming to save us all. I'm not doing it for anybody. 3 firsts and 2. No, I think
that's crazy.
We got to be able to. We can pick somebody really good at 12, and if not, then we pick a non-quarterback who's going to help us. And then next year, at least we have a first-round pick that we maybe can use to go after a quarterback. But I think if you're just strapping yourself to a rocket and you don't know
which way it's going.
You don't know which way it's going.
It might go up for 10 feet and then straight back into the ground and explode. And you know who probably didn't see this coming last year was the Carolina Panthers, or else they probably don't make that trade and give up the first pick. That's probably worst case scenario that I haven't even mentioned is what happens if you do trade 2 future first round picks and then this guy's a bust and then you give up to the Commanders the number 1 overall pick in one of those years.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god. So not only do you have a bust at quarterback, you have no future first round picks, but the future first round picks that you gave up turn out to be a number 1 overall pick.
And it's funny because I don't feel like he's a bust yet, but I feel like they're in the same position we would be in. You have a talented young quarterback with no talent around him, so he can't even be productive.
Yeah.
Like, who are his wide receivers?
Adam Thielen. I mean, he's the best.
He's good. He's solid, but he's, you know what I'm saying?
He's
not
like a good third receiver now. Yeah. Not a 1 or 2.
O-line's very average at best.
Yep.
Running back. You know what I'm saying? I think he's
Not Christian McCaffrey.
Agree. Yeah.
I think that's the position we'd be in.
And
Yeah.
wait, let's just make this even potentially worse because I think there's one more thing to add to make it a true worst case scenario. He busts your 2026 first round pick is the number 1 overall pick, and Arch Manning turns out to be that dude, and he's the number 1 pick in that draft. Could you imagine just how much
would
this
be
could
sick.
set you back?
It would
Oh
be
my
sick.
goodness.
That does remind me, though. So everybody talks about Sean Payton last year saying teams are going to tank for Caleb Williams. It's going to be why there's a draft lottery and all that.
Yeah.
Nobody's pointed out that he was totally wrong. Like, that is not what happened at all. The team that wound up with the number 1 pick was not trying to go get the number 1 pick. They were just really bad. So as it
good
comes up
point.
over and over and over again, but it isn't what happened. Like, teams did not tank so hard to get Caleb Williams.
And to your point, to add to that, if that was the case, don't you think the Bears, it would have been clear already that the Bears were trading Justin Fields and absolutely selecting him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is pretty clear. But yeah,
You think so?
yeah.
I mean, why haven't they said anything yet? Why haven't they?
I guess they could, but I'd imagine you can't actually trade him till March. So they could do like the Joe Flacco thing the Broncos did and like figure it out now. But
As Sean said
there's just no
yesterday
rush.
on our show with the interview with Kay Adams, the Matthew Stafford deal was done in Cabo in January.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just no rush. It's like it used to be like teams would say, like I remember who was taking a pick before Vaughn? That was Cam Newton, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember that summer or not summer, but like spring, like the Panthers like announced that they were going to draft Cam Newton with the first pick. And it's like, well, okay, I guess you can do that. It's your pick. Like, why not? But there's just no rush to do it.
And that's totally fair. Todd, you mentioned something.
Yep.
You said you would probably do it for Patrick Mahomes, but that may be it. I want to run through some other quarterbacks,
Let's do it.
current ones, just to show how big of a haul this is, and see if you guys would take this trade for current quarterbacks in the NFL. But first, I got to tell you about Circa Resort and Casino. Does this sound like the best place in Vegas? They have the world's largest sports book. Check. They have the best pool in Vegas where you can also watch sports. Check. And they also have their own Circa Sports book app, and it's a beautiful hotel and casino. So if you're going to head out to Vegas, use the code DNVR20 if you're going out just for a weekend, for a week. If you're going for an Avs Knights game, the Pac-12 or Mountain West tournament coming up in just over a month, you want to stay at Circa and use that code DNVR20 for 20% off. Also, make sure, if you're in Colorado, you don't have to be in Vegas for this, to download the Circa Sportsbook app where they've got so many bets going on there. Circa is the best. We love staying out there, and we know that you're going to love it too. So make sure to use that code DNVR20 when you book your stay over at Circa and download this app at circasports.com. You must be 21 or older. All rights reserved. Physically located in Colorado. Circa Sportsbook, Colorado. Encourage you to gamble responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org.
And shout out to our friends over at Game Time. I can't wait for the playoffs and the Nuggets to really hit their stride. I'll definitely be getting all my tickets at Game Time because I want to be in there when we go back to back. If the Chiefs can do it, we definitely can do it.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets for your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. The great thing about Game Time is the longer you wait, the better the pricing gets. They have all-in pricing, so when you see your price, that's what you pay. You don't have to wait until that final screen where all these fees are included. You know what you're paying before you even get there. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off.
Okay, before I get into the situations that I'm going to throw your way, Yahir has a little blind comparison for us. I'm curious where we're going here, Yahir.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys two QBs last year in college, and you're going to tell me which one you guys prefer. So the first one is 63% completion, 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. The next one would be 2,100 yards. Where is it? 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and about a 60% completion rate. Which one would you guys prefer?
Neither.
They're very similar.
Yeah, they are. But I mean, I guess the first one did have more yards, more touchdowns, a couple more interceptions, better completion percentage. I mean, you go number one, I guess, but I'm not blown out of the water by those college stats.
I wonder if one of them is Lamar.
With
the rushing yards.
Can't be Mahomes because he had over 4,500.
Oh, he
That's
did.
right.
Back-to-back
Yeah,
years.
that was the one stat.
Right.
That I remember. Yeah, I was like, well,
and Penix.
not him or Penix.
Yep. I guess I'll go one. I'm not blown away
one
by
is
either.
smart.
Yeah, it's got to be one.
So number one is actually Drake Maye. Number two is Justin Fields, who last year in college.
I was right with the rushing quarterback.
He did. But he only had 383 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns rushing.
They also count sacks as rushing yards in college too,
True.
though. So if you have 10 sacks,
He
5
only-
yards each, that's 50.
He only had
And you have
one
way
game
more
of
than 10.
negative rushing yards, and that was -4. The rest
Yeah.
were all above 10.
I'd imagine, yeah, they should be. Yeah, I mean Drake Maye, it's just a little lackluster all the way around. And his thing is like, obviously has all the traits,
Yep.
and it's just when you like disguise the coverage that he really gets screwed up. Like, and when Vic Fangio's defense is like what the entire league is doing, you got like the too high and like the late rotations and all that sort of stuff. Like, there's a reason he's good against rookie quarterbacks, and a lot of it is you don't know what's coming until the play starts. And so, like with Drake Maye, he can kind of like get from his first progression to the second to the third, but as soon as there's like the coverage rotates or whatever it may be, the plan, he can't like adapt that plan. And so again, that's not like a huge flaw for a rookie quarterback. That's like most rookie quarterbacks. But in terms of giving up a whole bunch of first round picks to go and get him, just like, yeah, you just gotta do a little bit more.
There's nothing more that you could have said that would have made me more out on Drake Maye than that. Because
I mean, you could say that about just about all these guys, though. Like, probably, honestly, maybe all of them.
Not Caleb. I think he's pretty good at adjusting to
Yeah.
what defenses do
True.
and has the physical tools to make that work too. But like Drake Maye, I think was viewed as like even higher in this draft process a year ago because he has all the physical tools. And I don't really care about physical tools that much unless if you're 5'5", 100 pounds. Yeah, I'm probably a little concerned about your physical tools. But all of these guys. Even Mac Jones, he has the physical tools.
I don't know that he does.
Play in the NFL. Yeah, he does.
To play, not like Drake Maye and those guys.
What is Drake Maye?
Stronger arm, bigger,
Yeah,
better
but
athlete.
see, that doesn't.
Josh Allen?
What my
No,
he's
he's-
compared to Justin Herbert a lot. Drake Maye is what his comparison is, and like to me, what matters most is what's up here, and especially for a quarterback, your ability to diagnose and break down defenses and read coverages and process quickly. Drake he might be able to learn that, but he just does not blow me away with that. So the physical tools to me are so overblown in a quarterback.
But then you look and it's like Patrick Mahomes. Crazy, like that arm is just insane.
Yeah, but he's what, 6'2" and
he's tiny.
That-
Nick
true.
says.
little
Totally.
chubby. Like he's not,
But I mean, there
he's
is
not
some
a
of that.
specimen.
But like massive arm, like incredibly massive arm, the quick release, all that sort of stuff. Like you go with like Lamar, obviously, like the speed, like that's physical tools. Even Brady is like 6'5", like quick release. It depends on how you classify that. Like
You talking about Brady that was drafted in the 6th
definitely, and like
Chubby Brady.
Yeah.
he wasn't like a perfect prospect, but then you like look at him come out on the field on game day, like like that's a big dude, and like he could get something on that ball and get it where it needs to go. I think that when you look back, like I mean, I guess it just depends on what you classify as like a physical tool, but I mean. It's all about that like quick release, get the ball where it needs to go. Obviously, do it accurately too, but I think those do matter.
I think they matter, just not. I don't think height and size matter.
I mean, there's ways around it. I think.
Yeah.
I think that like if you can move well in the pocket, then like size doesn't matter as much. But if you're like, I don't even know, like Peyton. Like if Peyton wasn't so tall, I don't think he would have been as good. Like the fact that he could just like look over the entire defense, I think it makes up for the fact that he wasn't trying to escape the pocket and like he didn't have to search for
What
windows.
about
Like,
Drew Brees? I think their games are very similar as far as
Yeah.
what they did. One is 6'5", one is 6'1".
it's true, but I just think that you like, it's about the whole combination. You don't just
Exactly.
need like, you have to have this, but you have to have like a whole bunch of traits that work together that give you something that you're really good at.
I think, for me, I think it's mostly the mental. Because I think if we look at both those guys, they're very different in talent, very different in size, but I think it's about how they approach the game and how they're able to adjust. And if you're saying that that's not what you're seeing right now from Drake Maye, I think that's 100% what football is at the next level. It's less about talent unless you're maybe a running back or Lamar Jackson that's going to use his legs more often. If you're going to throw the ball, you have to be able to read defense and you have to be able to adjust. And I just don't. I'm not a huge Drake Maye fan. I think he's a good player. I don't think a lot of guys are overhyped. I think we've seen it the last couple of years. Guys get overhyped all the time. He may come out and prove me wrong, but that's just how I feel right now.
I think it's really hard to know whether a quarterback has all the mental stuff. Because, like, Caleb Williams, so much of that is RPOs and quick throws. Like, Bo Nix, that's all it is. Like, Bo Nix doesn't go through, like, a whole lot of reads. Like, Jaden Daniels has, like, some of that. Like, J.J. McCarthy's the guy who you look at and say, like, mentally, he's probably going through the most progressions. They're most similar to what he's going to go through in the NFL. You know, it's just so hard because so few quarterbacks are given the opportunity to show that they can do that in college. That's why I just think that is what's most important, but it's also the toughest to know whether somebody has it or not.
But you have to.
You do have to.
That's the one thing you got to know, because that's going to be a difference between a Patrick Mahomes and a Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying me right there.
No,
I was like,
no,
damn,
no,
why
there's
am I
other
being thrown in
differences.
this?
There's other differences.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson.
There you go. And I mean, I just look at the two quarterbacks in the NFC Championship game, Jared Goff and Brock Purdy. Jared Goff doesn't have a laser rocket of an arm, and he's throwing the ball 70 yards downfield. He was a number 1 overall pick. Brock Purdy, on the other hand, not tall, does not have a crazy cannon of an arm. But then you look at the AFC Championship game. You had Lamar Jackson, unbelievable athlete, all the physical tools you want, and Patrick Mahomes as well. So the one thing that all those guys have in common, at least right now, is they've got the mind. So I think that's the common denominator.
It's just so hard to know if somebody has that or not.
And that's why these guys get paid a lot more money than analysts and draft quote-unquote experts, is because they're supposed to figure that out. That's why it was like just unbelievable that the Broncos drafted Paxton Lynch, because they had all the resources at their disposal, and I knew the guy wasn't it literally after the first time after meeting him and being around him for a full day. And
what was it that really like showed you that he wasn't it?
oh, it's just very clear.
Oh, dang.
I mean, how quickly did you know?
It took some time. It took a couple games. I always felt like he could like turn it on at some point, and he just didn't turn it on.
You never did.
Yeah. But I can't say just talking to the guy, I'm like, nah, you're not gonna.
I think he said the hardest route to throw was a 5-yard slant, and it was like, what? What? Like, what? He just liked to bomb it deep, and that's what he did. I think it was the offensive coordinator. Why can't I remember his name? Musgrave. Bill Musgrave said he called him 5-play Paxton because that's all he ran in college.
Dang.
And if your offensive coordinator, this was like deep in the season, if your offensive coordinator is saying that, that means you probably haven't progressed from that much either. Massive red flags, but we don't have to go that way. I want to throw some quarterbacks your guys' way, knowing what we know about them now. So, and knowing, and then you do have to guess about what they could do in the future. Would you make this exact same trade, the one that PFF has for the Broncos? So 3 first-round picks, including 12 this year, and a second-round pick for these quarterbacks. Would you do it for Mahomes?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
Yep.
Totally. And you're in the Broncos situation as well. Would you do it for Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
You're really thinking.
Yeah. I would do it
wouldn't.
for Joe.
You wouldn't.
I mean, it's just one of those things where, like,
He's already been to a Super Bowl.
definitely, but you got to pay him so much too.
Yeah, it's
Like,
fair.
you pay him all that, like, and again, like, I don't want to take too much away from him, but again, like, you've got great receivers. The year they went to the Super Bowl, like, the offensive line's good, the defense was playing crazy football. Like, the Broncos just wouldn't have the resources to do all that stuff. Like, maybe it would definitely make the Broncos better, more watchable, but I don't think that that's like a path to a championship.
Wow. Okay. And in the comments,
Yeah,
let
they're
us
gonna
know
hate
what you
that
think
one.
because
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have some disagreements here. I would absolutely do it for Joe Burrow in a heartbeat. Trevor Lawrence.
No.
Yeah, the temptation there is that he's cheaper for just a little bit longer versus Burrow, but no.
I'm uncomfortable with it, but what is he, 24, 25 years old, and he still does have the talent. I do still think he has what it takes mentally. I would do it, but I'm getting a little uncomfortable right now, so I'm the only one that's taken this one. Josh Allen.
And this is like right now, not like
Right
when
now.
they were drafted. At,
Yep.
And so you know what they've done in the past. You know where they are right now.
Yeah, I'll do Josh Allen.
Whoa, pause.
I think
Pause. Thank
I
you.
think I would.
Okay.
Then the difference between him and Burrow is that he can just be like a one-man offense. Like you want to go 5 wide, like there's going to be a running lane. He's going to hit somebody. Like he can just carry a team alone more than Burrow can. But again, like financially, I wouldn't be surprised if you wind up regretting doing it.
It's fair.
Just given that you don't have a team around him.
I'm taking Josh as well, and then Lamar Jackson.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah, that's the easy
He's
one.
expensive, but
Yep.
So he's the easiest one outside of Mahomes for you?
Yeah.
For both of you?
yeah, I would take Lamar. I mean, 2-time MVP
Yeah?
for
yeah.
sure.
Again, like one-man offense.
Yeah.
You don't need to be perfect around him.
Yep. I'm also doing taking Lamar here. Okay, let me run through a couple more. Justin Herbert.
No.
No, like I don't even know that I just give him the contract, let alone give up all the picks too.
And a year from now, I might be saying yes. Right now, I'm gonna say no. Dak Prescott.
Oh. Dang.
He was one of the finalists for MVP this
We
year.
never
He's a
talked
hell
about
of
him.
a player
I
in the
swear,
regular
Justin
season.
Herbert and like Joe, like those guys come up like 3 times a week.
Yep.
We haven't talked about Dak Prescott, and
Yep.
I don't even know.
He's
Very
a hell
true.
of a player in the regular season, but he has always had a loaded wide receiver room every
Exactly.
year of his career,
Yep.
and running backs,
Exactly, and that offensive line.
and the O-line. Like, he's been in a real position
The
to
defense
succeed
now,
his
too.
whole career. You gotta love it, man.
Yeah.
Can't hate on him, but
Ugh.
with what we have, I say no.
I'd say
No chance.
I'd probably say no. I mean, I would say no.
What about Tua?
I like Tua, but I feel like when Tyreek Hill's not on the field, he's kind of average.
Okay.
I think Tyreek really helps him be successful.
That's fair.
Yeah, if he came with Tyreek, I would do it. But yeah, without him, like no.
Am I missing anyone? Any other big ones?
I think like Jordan Love is kind of like a fun one, just because
Oh,
he's
okay.
cheaper, a little bit
Would you?
longer. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Todd? Are you doing love?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh boy. No, that was
Aaron
this is a
Rodgers.
tough conversation.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, no, because he's
No.
old.
So,
Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of his career, as much as I don't like him, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
We have to.
yeah.
I mean, what he won like 8 games with the Packers his last year. That Packers team, I think, is probably a better team than the Broncos are now.
You're missing CJ Stroud.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Stroud, you got to
yes.
do it. Yep,
Yeah.
Stroud, you do it.
Todd? You agree?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
He's the future.
Yep. Who else? Am I missing anyone?
Stafford, no, he's too old.
Yeah, no.
Jared
Jared
Goff.
Goff.
Kyler, no.
No.
Jared Goff,
Brock Purdy,
no. On both of those guys
I
for
think that's
me.
One more.
Flacco.
Jalen Hurts.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. I would, but
You would?
not comfortable. Yep, I would.
Oh, I don't know if I would.
It's another one where it's like I just don't think that giving him $55 million a year is like a path to winning football, winning a championship.
Fair.
And so to give up 3 firsts on top of that, like it's my policy. I have to say no. If I'm saying no to Burrow, I'm saying no to Jalen
That's
Hurts.
fair. They were 10-1 this year. They obviously collapsed massively. They were in the Super Bowl last year. I'm gonna say right now that collapse was more of a fluke because I think we have a bigger sample size the past 2 years. But I understand why anyone would say no
All
to
right.
that.
Bryce Young.
One more.
No.
Would you trade up to number 1 for Caleb Williams with that trade package?
In a heartbeat.
Yep, I
And
would.
Todd won't. It's fair.
And
For nobody.
Todd's probably right, but I'm going with the 30% chance that he is like just insane.
And why I
'Cause
love
why not?
I love going through this little exercise is what there's maybe 5 guys in the NFL right now that we would make this trade for individually and collectively. And so that shows you how good Drake Maye would have to be. He'd have to be a top 5 quarterback to even think about it, let alone like, do it right away. He'd have to be even better than that.
But the difference is like once you're on that second contract, it's market value, like, and when you're paying market value, the expected surplus value should be like basically nothing. And so like when you're giving $55 million a year to a quarterback, you're getting like $55 million in production. What you're hoping for is that you're giving him, second pick, he's probably getting like $8 million a year. You're hoping you're getting like, even if he was $20 million a year production, that's better value than, market value for Jalen Hurts or market value for Joe Burrow.
But then here's the thing too, is you don't have 2 first-round picks behind you in the Broncos situation. You don't have 2 first-round picks moving forward. So he's going to have to outperform that rookie contract because he's going to be doing it all by himself, or at least with way less talent around him than in most situations.
And if you're like the Steelers, then maybe you do make that trade for Joe Burrow. Like, I think I probably would because they've got their defense built out. Like, they've got at least a couple pieces on offense, but they don't have a quarterback.
I feel like if I was a GM, I would never trade up. I would only trade back, or I would pick where I was at.
Yeah?
George Payton likes you. Sean Payton hates you.
I would only trade back. I think it's just a better business decision. You get more out of trading back.
Yep.
And you can usually pick a good player for where you're at. Unless you need just like one specific position, like we only need a tight end, like we got to go get Bowers and that's it. But it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I think you give up way too much. And I don't know who it's worked for yet.
Yeah.
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs, the Chiefs did work for them. Yeah.
Bills also traded up to get Josh Allen.
So
it's kind of worked.
Back before the slotted salaries, when rookies would negotiate their own contracts, Jamarcus Russell being one of them, all the economists who like went through all the numbers found that the most valuable picks in the draft were the top of the 3rd round. So like you should trade the number 1 overall pick for the first pick of the 3rd round. Like you should just make that trade straight up because you're going to wind up paying $20 million a year to the number 1 overall pick versus like $500K a year to like the 3rd round, and the expected value is just so much higher that you should actually at that time, not anymore because it's all slotted, you should have just traded like top 10 pick, get rid of it and get something in the 3rd round.
That is wild. Could you imagine a team doing that?
You can't do it though.
No, you absolutely
it's just so
can't.
risky at the top, and the busts are too common. Like you should just take something way safer.
But I mean, Todd, to your point, you're right. It doesn't happen very often where a team gambles everything to trade up. The Commanders did it for RG3, and he had a good couple of seasons. He didn't pan out as people thought he was going to be.
Yep.
And so that hurt them in the long run. Heck, they moved on to their 4th round pick, speaking of like trading out, and they went with Kirk Cousins, and he ended up being better. So the value is certainly with trading back, and that's the George Payton philosophy. One of the things that this has got me thinking of is our draft party. Our draft party is going to be awesome here. We're going to be doing it right here, and we've also going to have so many events at the DNVR Bar before the draft, and you want to come by and hang out with us. In fact, we've got an event tomorrow, Friday, watching the American Raptors. Get your weekend started off right at the DNVR Bar, 3 p.m. Raptors watch party, where we're going to be giving away stickers, DNVR swag, VIP ticket raffles, and we're going to have watch parties for the American Raptors the next 3 weeks. So if you are already an American Raptors fan, or you want to become a fan, come by the DNVR Bar. And then, of course, you got to be here for the All-Star weekend this week. You got to be here for Nuggets games, Avs games. Todd, you haven't been here for a playoff Nuggets or Avs game, have you?
No, I haven't.
Man,
so I'm excited.
It's going to be so electric because the bar is packed for the playoffs. So if you want to be, if you want to check out any events we've got going on, follow us on social at DNVR_sports or go to thednvr.com/events to see our calendar.
And go check out, damn it, my computer's
Empire.
Oh yeah, the floors. See, my thing is every time I I hear floor, I look at the floor, and I see our awful floor here, which hopefully soon will be replaced. But I've already talked enough about that.
And you're reminded that it's not an Empire floor.
No, it is not. And that's why I'm so excited to have Empire on board, because in theory, someday soon, we should be getting that floor on the way. Oh, Tiger just missed a birdie putt. What a shame. Yeah.
This is why he doesn't know his ad reads, guys. He's watching Tiger play.
He's all over the place.
I found the paper from 2005 when they went through all those numbers. I think some like carpet is probably my favorite floor. Like sometimes they have the carpet that has like a little bit of multicolored in it, so you can't like tell if there's like dirt or anything like that.
So you're saying you're dirty and you just get things everywhere, so you need the carpet that cleans that up?
Yeah, exactly. Like then you don't have to vacuum as much. Like you can get stains, people don't notice. Yeah, like a nice big fluffy carpet. I think that would be probably my favorite floor. Like something where you don't even want to wear shoes because it's so nice. So yeah, Empire is where we go to get floors. If you want, you can get on their app, their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how their new floors will look in any space. You don't have to like go shop at a big store. They'll actually come to you. They have convenient shop at home service. And they have their own warranties. So if there's an issue, you just call them up and they'll hook you up. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
How would you guys feel about J.J. McCarthy with the 12th pick? Broncos don't have to give anything up. They just stay at 12 and pick J.J. McCarthy. That's what our guy Field Yates has the Broncos doing in this draft, sticking at 12. We knew after talking to him last week that it was going to be a quarterback. He has it being J.J. McCarthy.
You know, I'm not mad at it. You know, my guy's Penix. Like, I'm not mad at it. I'm happy that we are picking a quarterback here and it's not an outside linebacker or a corner. So ultimately, I am happy. I mean, he's a great competitor, won a lot at Michigan. I'm excited. I will be excited to see like how he pans out because I feel like his workload was limited at Michigan because of how great their offensive line running game is. So it'd be interesting to see. But ultimately, a quarterback, I'm happy. Let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I'm in on J.J. McCarthy. He moves really well in the pocket. I feel like that's the thing that stands out to me at this point is that even compared to like Michael Penix, like just the little movements to buy just a little bit more time, like he puts his linemen in good spaces. And so in going back through and looking, I was thinking like, what if Quinn Miners was this guard? And what if he just made that little step there? Like Quinn would just lay this guy out. Like he just puts his offensive line in good situations. And I think that is nice. The way he runs the offense is obviously great. They asked a lot of him on third downs and he delivered. Like it's the closest thing to a pro style offense. I think I don't necessarily think that he needs to sit when he gets to the NFL either. I think that like he looks a little bit like underdeveloped. Like he could fill out just a little bit more. And he will because he's just so young. Like he's not a finished product, but I do think that I'm on board with J.J. McCarthy at 12. The last of that top 6 that I'm not is Bo Nix. Like I'm going to try again to see what people see in him. I think what they see is just stats, but that's the last one. If they take McCarthy at 12, I'm happy.
He's 6'3", 202 pounds. Mac Jones is 6'3", 220 pounds.
Yeah.
And you say Mac is limited.
He is. He doesn't move as well. He doesn't have as big of an arm.
Okay.
The release. Maybe JJ might have a little bit quicker release, but not much.
JJ, I would be okay with this because you're not mortgaging the future for a guy. It's a swing on a quarterback, and also this would be the ultimate. I wouldn't be in love with this move, but this would be the ultimate. Like you got to trust Sean Payton, and if Sean Payton is identifying this guy as his quarterback, okay, I'm comfortable with it, and that's how I'd feel about if it was Penix, if it was Bo Nix, if it was J.J. McCarthy at pick 12. You just have to trust in Sean Payton right now. And JJ is probably he's pro ready because he's coming from more of a pro style offense. He knows how to play under center. He can play in the gun as well, but really knows how to play under center. There's just never really been a ton put on his plate because he's had a fantastic defense, an awesome running game, but he also is more pro ready. So there's pluses and negatives to him. He's also 21. He's also the youngest quarterback in this draft. So you have tons of time to develop him. I'm not too concerned about if a guy's older or younger in this draft. What is Penix is going to be 24, 25 this year? That doesn't concern me at all. So I'm not going to like make a 21-year-old seem like that much better because he's young. But I guess it is a nice little bonus there. So it'd be the ultimate trust in Sean.
It's so funny to me that like everybody talks about like time to develop guys. I don't feel like they give guys time anymore. You got like 2 years. If it's not looking good or panning out after 2 years or 3, you're done. Like you could be 21 and you're just retired by 24, or you could be 25 and be done by 28. Like
Exactly.
I don't know if like age is as a big of a factor now because guys don't get developed. I think the guys that do, even like Jordan Love, I think he had time to sit and watch Aaron Rodgers and know his first year wasn't great last year, or this year was really his first year starting.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, turned out pretty good at the end of the season.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you do have the ability to develop guys, I think it always works out great. But most of the time we see it like first round draft picks, you got to be ready. You got to go in there. You got to be able to start. And if you don't perform great, it's like, okay, on to the next.
Yeah. And it's crazy that we all know that quarterbacks pan out better if you let them sit behind somebody. Like all the evidence suggests the best thing you can do is just not play a rookie quarterback the first year, but still no team can do it. And a lot of that's just because of necessity, because like if the Panthers didn't play Bryce Young last year, who would they have even played? I don't even know who their backup quarterback was.
Andy Dalton.
I mean, you could run an offense for like 8 weeks. Like when you're losing every game anyway, why not?
But nobody drafts a pretty good quarterback when you have a quarterback.
No, exactly.
The Packers did it.
Yeah.
Chiefs did it.
You got to be in an incredible
Chargers
situation.
did it.
Right.
Like, and it worked out for all of those teams. More teams just have to do it.
Yeah, and that's what John Madden said. It's like the best time to draft a quarterback is when you don't need one, because you get to let them sit. But then everything changes because you only get I guess it works out to be about 6 years where you get a cheap quarterback, and you want to maximize those, because then all of a sudden you're paying the $55 million to Justin Herbert. Like, you want him to be as good as you can in that time before then. And so it's just this weird dynamic where you really want to get him going as quick as you can, because that's when like the surplus value could be so much higher. But instead,
maybe you don't have to pay him as much if they don't have this long track record of being
it's true.
good.
But I mean, what's Baker going to get off of one good year?
Well, what's Jordan Love going to get? You can sign a new deal this offseason, which is crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if
He won't reset the market, though, at least.
No.
But that might be why he waits another year. No, he should just take that money.
He might I wouldn't be shocked if he got 50 a year.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's 50. But he's not getting like the 63 or whatever at the top.
Uh-huh.
What is the top right now? Is it already 60?
I
thought it was like 55-ish. But a good point coming in from Jose, because we did throw out the names when they did work, the Patrick Mahomes, the Jordan Loves, the Aaron Rodgers. Jose says, well, the Broncos did that with Paxton Lynch.
When do we have Paxton Lynch?
2016. He was a first-round pick. He was the first draft pick
who was
after
our
winning the Super
quarterback?
Bowl. Trevor Siemian.
yeah.
That's not, you can't.
in
Pax
terms of-
isn't going to learn from
In
Trev.
terms of sitting, though.
But he
also-
wasn't, I don't think he was, Prax wasn't drafted to sit. He got drafted and had to sit because Trevor was out playing him. I think they were drafting him to be a starter. We didn't have a quarterback at that time.
Right.
They weren't putting the ball in Trevor Siemian's hands like, you're our guy for the future.
Yeah.
It was a true like, all right, we're going to draft somebody. If he pans out, we're going to have him start. It didn't work. I think you have to draft a quarterback, even though Aaron Rodgers didn't like it. I think it worked out best for the organization.
Brett
Yeah.
Favre didn't like it
When
either.
when you have a really good quarterback for them to learn from.
Exactly.
Pax coming in and learn from Trevor Siemian.
They're the same
He's
age.
trying to learn just like Pax is, you know?
Exactly.
So, I don't know.
Well, and then the other thing, like, that's just one example. And then
Exactly.
And so then you go to like, well, Zach Wilson didn't work out either, and neither did
Brock Osweiler.
Brock Osweiler. I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of did.
Worked out a little bit.
He worked
He
out.
worked a
He
bit.
worked
He's also
out
a second-round
for
pick.
the Super Bowl team. He didn't
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
out career-wise.
Yeah. But I think some of that was kind of self-inflicted by choosing to leave. But also, I mean, that's like a second-round pick, and how often does a second-round pick wind up being a starter regardless?
I think if he would stay here, would have had a better career.
It definitely would have been better.
I
for
understand.
sure.
It might not have been great, but it definitely would
I
have been
understand
better.
the frustration though, when you think you're not getting what you're worth. Like, so.
Yeah.
Was the locker room surprised when he left?
Yeah, everybody thought he was going to be our guy next year for
Yeah.
sure.
It would have just been
But-
so smooth.
But when
you,
somebody comes and hands you a 50% off coupon, you're like, I'm half the reason why we won that ring last year. I understand.
And also being a competitor, like from an outside perspective, it's like, of course, if Peyton Manning is healthy, he's going to be your quarterback going in. But from his perspective as a competitor, he's like, what the hell? I just went 5-2, kept this team not only in a position to make the playoffs, but to get the number 1 seed. And now you're benching me, and it's still going to be the same head coach that just benched me. Like, again, it was the right move, 100%, to put Peyton in there. But from a competitor's perspective of Brock Osweiler, I get it.
Yeah, he felt like he had done enough to be in that position. It worked out for us, but I think he at least earned the right for, like, a real deal that next year. Like, and a real shot to just be our guy for the future.
Yeah, especially with like Peyton retiring. DeMarcus, he played one more year?
Yep, he did.
Yeah, he did play one more year. But like even with just Peyton retiring, like that opens up some space. I guess you also had to pay, like Derek Wolfe came up that year.
Chris Harris Jr.
Yeah, Trevathan walked, so there's more money.
Yep.
You could have found a way.
They got Wolf on a sweet deal.
A crazy deal,
They did.
Because I mean, he got good money. He signed a team friendly deal with Malik, who they were battling like kind of similar, very similar. Went and got like 80 million. Like they got a great deal.
And
it's the same. It's same as Brock, where it's like got way more money, but it didn't really work out. And it's you can't. I mean, I think he's happy with the decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think the Broncos had excess money in 2016. Like I think.
Yeah. But if they
had to
wanted
let some guys
their quarterback,
walk, not
they could have
because they
found a
didn't
way.
want them.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it's not like they just had tons of extra money. They tried. What were you gonna say here?
Just the highest paid quarterbacks. It's Deshaun Watson at 63, almost 64 million.
Oh my!
Dak Prescott at 59 million, and Patrick Mahomes at 58.
Yeah, he's got 3 years coming up. 64 million, 64 million, 64. Deshaun.
Oh my!
All fully guaranteed.
And there's a report coming out this morning.
He's worse than Russ.
That says the NFL has not closed the door on potentially handing out another punishment for Deshaun Watson if more evidence comes out about this stuff. So apparently, I don't know.
Like there's more coming out.
I was gonna say I don't know if there's more, but for a report to come out that says that makes me think that there's reason to believe that more may
like
come
they're
out.
asking for more. I feel like the Browns organization like we need some dirt. Like please, like we have too much money tied up with him, and so that's trying to find some people.
That honestly is like Russell Wilson's contract and trade is one of the worst all time. But Deshaun has a chance because the Browns have no choice but to keep him. There's a chance that he can turn it around, and if he turns it around, then Russ's could be worse in the long run. But right now, Deshaun's is worse. The contract and trade, yikes.
Yeah. So like we talked about the 85 million to move on from Russ, 200 for Deshaun.
Dang.
Fully guaranteed, baby.
And Russ was better last year.
Yep. And that's why Deshaun originally said, I'm not going to the Browns. And then the door reopened to the Browns because they said, we'll give you a fully guaranteed contract. And Deshaun was smart to say, well, I'm going to take that.
That's the Malik Jackson.
Yep.
It's like, this probably don't want to be a Browns quarterback. Right. Like, bad things generally happen to Browns quarterbacks, but can't say no to, what was it?
200 million.
Yeah. 230 guaranteed.
230 guaranteed.
Oh, this made my stomach hurt.
All right.
What was he going to do with that?
Speaking of quarterbacks, let's go the opposite direction. Instead of talking bad, let's talk ideal quarterbacks for the Broncos. And to round this show off, we are going to break down our top 5 quarterbacks, realistic, semi-realistic for the Broncos. This year can be anyone. Can be free agency, can be trade. Now, if it is a trade, you got to give up the fair value to get him. If it is free agency, you got to pay him the fair value. So, and obviously, like, trading from Mahomes isn't realistic. So that's not an option if one of you try to do that.
Oh, no.
We're Nixon it. Yeah, you got what, like...
Bo Nixon it?
There you go.
Bo Nixon.
So, Todd, let's start with you. Why don't you give us your top 5 and about 5 to 1?
All right, 5 to 1. Let's do it. All right, first I'm starting with Russell Wilson. Obviously, we're paying him $39 million, whether he's on the team or not. I think we might as well have him on the team, and maybe we do still draft a young quarterback and he can learn from Russell Wilson. Hopefully he's not too mad and just tells the young quarterback all the wrong things to do. But I think it's one of the better options for the team. We still would be in cap hell, but I think it's a lot easier to balance things out with having him on the team and then figuring out how to get rid of $20 million in dead cap.
I like it. Well, and then even on top of that, like, go get Brock Bowers.
Yep.
Russell Wilson, Brock Bowers. Like, I think Russell Wilson probably wins the most games of more than any rookie quarterback would this year.
Yeah.
Throw in that you get another piece like that. Who knows?
Not a bad option. All right, number 4, my guy Kirk Cousins. Don't know if he would come. Yeah, former teammate. Don't know if he would come, but I think he's a talented quarterback, and he's a veteran, and he would kind of help steer the ship the way it needs to be steered. And hopefully we could work some things out to give him a huge signing bonus and give him a lot less, through the year, so it doesn't hurt our salary cap. And
I think that's very possible.
I think it would be great.
Yeah, and by the contract terms, the only way that you absolutely couldn't do it is if it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
But if you make a bigger year deal, then absolutely. You give him a massive signing bonus, and you can absorb that cap hit this year.
We can make it work. Number 3, I got Justin Fields. I feel like he is still a young man that is on the rise. I don't think he's hit his peak yet, and I felt like I saw him take some big steps this year as a quarterback in the NFL. Probably cost us a 3rd-round pick, a lot better than 3 firsts and a 2nd. So I'm willing to risk it and see how it pans out.
What about a 2nd-round pick? Would you do it for a 2nd?
We don't have one.
Next year's 2nd.
Yeah, next year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll worry about that next year.
Oh, man, you sound more and more like Sean every day.
Sooner than later. Number 2, I got Bo Nix. I think that he'll be there at 12.
Yep.
2, I think he is very accurate. If you look at the numbers, probably the most accurate quarterback in college football last year. And I think that's what we need. We don't need somebody with a big arm, even though he does have talent. We need accuracy. I think that's what wins in the NFL is accuracy, hands down, day in and day out. So I'll pick Bo Nix as the 2nd best option. And number 1, of course, my guy, Michael Penix Jr. Of course, he'll be there at number 12. Draft boards are going crazy right now, having him all over the place. I think he's a talented quarterback. I think he slept on. He hasn't been injured for 2 seasons. I hate hearing about his injuries. That was ages ago.
Yep.
I think he's ready to go. I think he's focused. I think his mentality is there. And I think he's a smart quarterback. We talked about that being the number 1 key to being a great quarterback is what's between your ears. And I think he's very, very smart. So I think he's our best option if we want to turn the ship around.
I love it. And you got a mix of everything. Trade on your own roster, draft, and free agency. My one question to you about Michael Penix.
Yep.
Would you draft him at 12? If you are Sean Payton and George Payton, he's there at 12, or are you going to be risky? Because in Field Yates' mock draft, Bo Nix JJ goes at 12 to the Broncos. Bo Nix goes at 18 to the Steelers. Michael Penix does not go in the 1st round.
Well, we don't have a pick in the 2nd round.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe we can trade back from 12 to 15, but that's as far as I probably go.
Okay, so you're only trading a couple spots.
What you do, you take JJ, then you trade back into the 2nd round and get Penix as well, and you just have him compete.
What could go wrong?
2 darts, man.
There wouldn't be a power struggle at all. Why not keep Russ, too?
I'm planning on it. Just
Then
give
you
me
get Zach Wilson in there just for a little fun.
Try to see if we can get Trey Lance as well. Let's just get like a 5 quarterback room.
I love it, Todd. And we're going to update these. Let's say if Kirk Cousins tomorrow signs a deal with the Vikings, and we'll go back and update our rankings. Henry, where are you going? 5-1.
Number 5,
He needs help you here.
Come on,
he doesn't remember.
I think did
this
I
isn't
go
a
Fields?
good number 5 if he can't remember.
Does that say Fields?
Oh
Okay,
my
good.
gosh!
I can't read that part. I thought Fields was 5, but I'm not going to say the wrong thing. Like that's why the board always, But yeah, Fields. I was actually torn. My number 4 is Russell Wilson. So those 2 were kind of the bottom 2 here. I was just trying to figure out which order. I figured Fields is. You're probably picking up the 5th-year option, so it's either like $25 million for 2 years. And a 3rd-round pick, or it's 37 for Russ. Or 2nd, whatever. It was future 2nd, hopefully, or Russ. And so I figured I'd rather have Russ at 37 for 2 years versus 25 for Fields, and then plus whatever's in the draft. If it winds up being Fields, though, he can get the job done. It's a change. Like a running quarterback, it's always fun to have. It's also way more frustrating than people realize, I think. But, it will change. Like, you avoid the drama bringing Russ back. It wouldn't be the end of the world. Russell Wilson, like I said before, like, he's probably the best quarterback you could get next year unless you do something ridiculous. for that reason, like he might even be too low on my board. But yeah, bring back Russ. I think you're probably going to win in like 8-9 games next year. Same as last year, but who knows? Get a little lucky and maybe it's more. Number 3, I think JJ. Yeah. So all 3 of these guys are guys you can get at 12. I've got JJ. I guess one of them, maybe not. But I've got JJ third just because I like him. I wouldn't mind if they take him at 12. It'd be fun, at least early on, and hopefully it goes well and stays fun. Like, he's a good quarterback prospect. There you go. Number 2, I think I've got Penix. Yeah. Penix, like him a little bit more than JJ. The tiebreaker, actually, I had him really close. I went back and watched some Drew Brees last night just because I couldn't figure this out. And Penix and Brees actually look a lot alike. It's like the number 9 maybe does something there too, but like just the way they like take the snap, the way Brees like steps up in the pocket a little bit more, which you like. But there's less of like the McCarthy like twitchy like making a guy miss and then making the throw, like building the pocket. And so for a second there, like I talked about that with McCarthy before. I had McCarthy in front of Penix, and I was like, hopefully you just don't need that. And if you don't need that, I think Penix is just a better passer who puts the ball where it needs to be. And then number 1 though, I have Jaden Daniels because I couldn't decide.
Wow.
I initially had Caleb Williams. I initially had Drake Maye. I was like, I don't want to give up what it takes. Like, those aren't bad options, but they're definitely not top 5. If you've got to give up like a future second for Jaden Daniels, I'm all in. You give up a future first, I'm probably all in.
Where is he projected to go? Like, where do we have to
Third.
Or 8th.
Second or third.
Like, it's all over the place.
I have not seen anyone that
I'll
hasn't
send it to
fallen
you
out
then.
of top 3.
I'll send it to you then.
Please.
Yeah. No, there's been plenty that have them like 8 or 9. Because 8's the hot one because it's
the Henry
Falcons.
Chisholm mock draft.
I think it is. And
No,
the
you haven't-
Chisholm Henry mock draft.
You haven't seen him going 8 to the Falcons?
I see. I'm just pulling
That's
up
what most common.
the one right now. Field Yates. He has Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2,
Yeah.
Drake Maye 3.
That's out there too. But that's why, like, if you can give up a first to go get him, I'm all in.
Oh, I mean, I would be all in on that too. I think Jaden Daniels is it's pretty much a trade package for Drake Maye, except maybe instead you don't have to give up that future second. But I think it's 3 first-rounders to get up there because I think it's quarterback. And Todd, I'm sorry to say, I don't think Michael Penix is in those top 3 quarterbacks. I think there's a clear top 3 quarterbacks, and they're going pick 1, 2, and 3. Whether it's the Bears, Commanders, and Patriots, whether other teams trade up in there, I think those 3 are going in the first 3 picks.
That's fine. I mean, Brock Purdy went last.
100%.
After tons of quarterbacks.
Yep.
I mean,
so would you do it for 3 firsts for Jaden?
Yeah, Brugler had 8. I gotta find the others. 3 firsts for Jaden. It wouldn't be my favorite.
Okay, but you're thinking about it, so
I'd rather do
I'll
Drake Maye. Yeah.
Oh, you would do Drake over. Okay.
I like this more than Drake Maye. That wasn't clear.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get to my top 5, and before I'm gonna spoil something, I don't have Russell Wilson on this list, but I wanted to put him on there. I just couldn't get him on there because of the mental hurdle of Sean doesn't like him. It's like so clear, and Sean's your head coach this year. That's going to be the case. So I just couldn't, in my right mind, think like, okay, I want another combo of a head coach that really does not like his quarterback. So I just couldn't do it. I do think Russ might be the best option to win this year. I just couldn't get over that hurdle. So that's why Russ isn't on here. But my number 5, I've got going to Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is a lot of Drew Brees. Now, is he Drew Brees? Of course not. But could he be like Drew Brees? Does he have a lot of traits? Does he play that spread him out football? Absolutely. And I think Sean Payton could see that. So I could absolutely see Bo Nix being the Broncos pick at 12 there. And I'd feel comfortable with it. Number 4, I've got Justin Fields for a lot of the reasons you guys laid out. I mean, he's a guy that has so much talent that might just be hitting his stride. And man, make the Bears look silly for trading a guy away that's finally starting to put it together. And especially, Todd, I just keep going back to what you said about the Broncos game. He looked the best as a pocket passer against the Broncos, and we know that Sean is fixated on 1 or 2 games when signing free agents, specifically Jarrett Stidham, so he could do that with Justin here. And if it's a second-round pick, a future second-round pick, man, that's a talented guy to get just for a second-round pick. So I like him there. Number 3, I'm going Kirk Cousins. Todd, I'm rolling with you on the Cousins train. Kirk Cousins might be the Sean Payton type of quarterback. Now he's older, and you can make the contract in a way to sign him, to absorb it. But he's going to cost you a lot next year or in 2025 and 2026 if you build it this way in order to absorb Russell Wilson's cap hit. But Kirk Cousins actually over Russell Wilson he'd get you in the playoffs. If the Broncos sign Kirk Cousins, the Broncos are a playoff team. Maybe not win the division, but they're winning 10, 11 games. They will be a playoff team.
He will be your Alex Smith.
There you go. And then you draft someone maybe next year because you don't have to give up anything for him draft pick-wise. Number 2, I'm going Jaden Daniels. This is 3 first-round picks. It's a ton. Jaden Daniels is electric. There's a reason he won the Heisman. He can get it done in the pocket with his arm, but then also just so dynamic. Probably the best running quarterback we've seen since Lamar.
Yeah.
You pair that with his ability to pass, yep, I could sign up for that in a heartbeat. And number 1, give everything to get Caleb Williams. And whatever you have to do to get him, if you can get him, the best way to compete with Patrick Mahomes is get the best possible quarterback. We've seen it in the playoffs. The only quarterbacks that Patrick Mahomes has lost to is Joe Burrow and Tom Brady. You got to go get the next closest thing to Mahomes, and that's Caleb Williams, even if it's given up a ton. All right, there's our top 5. I love it. We've got a lot of same people, a lot of different people. We're going to adjust this every week, every day if news breaks daily, and we're going to keep coming back to this. Let us know your top 5. Any final words here before we hit the Super Chats?
I think I had the best top 5.
Those are good words. And Super Chat coming in from the Great Browse says, give me Bo Nix, please. How would you feel if the Broncos pick at 12 as Bo?
I'm okay with that.
I'm not okay with it right now by drafting. I'm doing my best to get there. But, you're going to have good players on the board still, whether it's like a corner or tight end or something. Passing up on those for Bo Nix just doesn't do it for me. I just don't see why anybody would want him.
Yeah.
Dang.
And if
The stats.
if this is Bo Nix, wait, what do you mean the stats?
That's what he
great
has.
stats.
He has stats.
Oh, he has stats.
Everything else there isn't. If you just look at the stats, he's a great quarterback. But stats in college football, I don't know.
Yeah, only 2 quarterbacks have had, over 4,500 yards back-to-back seasons?
True.
Michael Penix and Patrick Mahomes. Stats sometimes mean something, but again,
If Penix works out,
they don't
do.
always mean something. So that's fair. I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay and trust in Sean. There was the saying, trust in John Elway. We went through that for a couple of years. It worked. It didn't work. And this one's all about trust in Sean. All right, that's going to do it today. We've got another fun conversation dialed up for tomorrow to head us into the weekend. So stay tuned with us, 11 a.m. tomorrow. We'll see you. Thanks for rolling with us.
We all silly like the mayor.